Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakach Kodash. And I want to give double honor to the apostles, the bishops, elders at GMS. Shalom to you, brothers, preaching and teaching His truth across the four winds of the earth. And bear with me 1 second. All right. To let my cat out the room, out the man cave. All right. I just want to go into this real quick. You know, the brothers, the elder apostles, the bishops. You know, brothers, probably been seeing a whole bunch of Passover videos, so on and so forth. Right. I just want to do my little small take on it, because a lot of people are still kind of confused. You know, women asking, you know, if you should, your husband doesn't drink, then, you know, should you partake in this, or should he partake in it, so on and so forth, which all those questions has been answered, right? But I will say this before I get into the scriptures, is that if you're new, right, this is, let's say you just heard the truth, you know, this year, a couple months ago, so on and so forth. If you don't feel like that you're ready to do that, then don't partake, right? If you are an unbeliever and you're hearing the truth, and you like, or you got an unbelieving, you know, woman, or you yourself is not fully persuaded, right, in your own mind, don't partake in it, right? Because you have to understand that this is, first off, at the solemn assembly, and I'm going to get that, right? And this is very serious time, right? And if this is very, a very also serious high holy day, right? And so with that, you have to be fully persuaded that, you know, in your own mind to partake. Now, however, we do know that we are rehearsing the righteous act, so we're not going to get it perfect, right? The lamb that you get, you don't know what happened, right? You don't know what happened to it, how it was raised, and what year it is, and so on and so forth, right? So we do the best that we can, but what you do get the lamb, you get the wine, right? And you also get some type of unleavened bread, right? Then also the bitter herbs, of course, right? Which in times past, right, I didn't have, wasn't able to get the root horseradish. So what I just used was the horseradish, you know, the sauce, you know, the minced up, you know, the minced horseradish, right? And now for, you know, brothers and or sisters, right, that let's say you stay with your parents, because there was I believe the first 3 Passovers that I kept, right, I believe I was with, yeah, it might have been three or four, right? Those I was with my parents, right? So what I did was, you know, if you have snacks, and obviously you can't, right, you can't go in the kitchen and start taking baking soda out, you know, yeast, you know, throw this away. And you can't, obviously you can't go in there and start throwing out their donuts and brownies, and you can't do that, right? So, you know, to the best of your ability, what I always did, right, was if I had like snacks, so I would keep like snacks and obviously like my personal stuff in my room. So I would just remove, you know, the snacks and stuff from my room, right, you know, the living quarters, and then take it out, right? And obviously, like, that's not perfect, right? But you do the best that you can do, right? So that was just me for my scenario. That's what I did. Right now, I don't live with them no more, of course. So I'm able to, you know, take all the leavening out, you know, set it outside, so on and so forth, right? So if that's your situation, if you got snacks and stuff in your room that you keep, you know, just scrutinize those packages and just go from there. That's what I would do. Because obviously you can't take all the leavening out of the house, of course. So that's what I did, right? But also understand in Judges 5 and 11, right? I'm not gonna pull it up. I'm not gonna pull up any scriptures on the screen. I'm just gonna read them, right? Because I got my Bible right here. To we're rehearsing, right? So we're not gonna get it perfect. So if you certain things that you're not able to do, like for an example, taking, if you with your parents or roommates, if you have roommates, right? In the world, of course, obviously you ain't gonna go in a kitchen and start taking their snacks out. It's Passover, you can't do that. But you can. You do what you do. And if you not fully convinced, don't do it, right? And if you a man got an unbelieving wife, or you're a woman and you got an unbelieving husband, you just keep it, right? But if it's your household, right, you still move stuff, you know out, of course, but don't try to try to hold them to the standard of them trying to keep it, right? Because this is about the believers, right? That's what this is about, right? So I want to let's start off with Matthew 26, right? And I want to show the mood, right, at Yahushua. Every time the Passover was here, it was something serious, right? And Yahushua, when he had his Passover, what type of mind frame and energy were they in, man? They weren't just all right, let's call the strippers over now and do this like how Sakari did some years ago, right? Or you blasting, rapping and having mini concerts and doing it. No, it's not the time for that, right? We're gonna have time for partying and feast days and gift giving and all those things in the kingdom, right? There's certain high holy days for those things, like Hanukkah, right? But this right here is not one of those high holy days, right? So, there was a scripture that came in my mind. How does that scripture go? It's in, I believe it's in what? Esteemeth like one day above another, so some along those lines, right? So every high holy day is not as dire serious as the next, and so on and so forth, right? But I want to start off with this Matthew 26, right? And I'm gonna start right at the top, right? In verse 17. And the subheading reads, it says, Yahushua eats the Passover with his disciples. It says, now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yahushua, saying unto him, Where wilt thou? It says that we prepare thee to eat the Passover. And he said, Go into the city, to such a man, and say unto him, The master saith, My time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples. And the disciples did as Yahushua had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now, when the even was come, he sat down with the 12. And as they did eat, he said, Verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. Right? So right now they're eating Passover, so on and so forth. So immediately, right, you can read the room. You can understand what the energy was like. Right? Yahushua was getting ready to be set up, betrayed. Right? So if he understood that he was not in a party mood, he was not in a partying spirit, right? He wasn't here, okay, bring more wine. And it wasn't about that. Right? It says, and they were exceeding sorrowful, right? It says, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I? And he answered and said, He that dippeth his hand with me in the dish, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goeth as it is written of him, but woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, I lost my place. Oh, okay. Verse 25. Matthew 26:25 says, it says, then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, Thou hast said. And they were eating. Yahushua took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, Take, eat, this is my body. It says and he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, Drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until the day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. Right? So that's why it's also important to get the wine, because the wine is symbolic of the blood of Yahushua. Right? So now let's go over now to Exodus. Right? So we got a scenario of the severity, right? And what the mood they were in. It says they were exceeding sorrowful, right? So now let's get this Exodus 12 to find out how it works, right? It says, and the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, and the Lord spoke unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Right? It says, speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month, right, they shall take to them every man a lamb, right, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house, right? And obviously, this is how the Passover is supposed to be kept, but we know that we're not able to do this, right, to the fullest, right, to the fullest extent. Right? It says, and if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb should be without blemish, a male of the first year. You should take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and you should keep it until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. Right? You see? It says, and they shall take the blood and strike it on the two side posts on the upper door post of the houses wherein they shall eat it. Right? And obviously we're not doing that. A lot of us live in apartments and neighborhoods. you put this blood upon your doorstep. What honestly you think is gonna happen, man? You can call the cops on your ass. It's the Passover, officer. Ain't gonna know if it's human blood, animal blood. They gonna investigate. They gonna what's going on here. You see? It says, and they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Right? It says, eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roasted with fire. His head with his legs, and with the putridness thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning you shall burn it with fire. Right? So you're supposed to be making whole lamb, eat it, and then whatever's left, you burn the rest of it. You see? But right now we're in a position where we don't have a whole lamb. Now, some brothers might have farms, you might have a lamb. Some brothers might, right? Or you might know and you got a family member that has a farm, or you know somebody, right? A friend that has a farm or so on and so. So you might be able to do that part, right? But we're not going to be justified, right, by the law, because we can't even keep all of the law. So understand those things, right? Understand those things. It says, where was that? 11. It says, and thus shall you eat with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night and smite all the firstborn. You see, in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt, I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. Right? And the blood shall be to you for a token upon your houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you. Right? And now, right, that blood, right, is Yahushua. Right? That sacrifice. Yahushua is the Passover. Right? He's that lamb without blemish. right? You see? And we have to understand that, right? Because you also understand the time that this Passover was about to happen. What had just happened? The firstborn was getting ready, the Lord was getting ready to smite, right? So it was about to be very, 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 serious times, right? And wherein this was about to take place. It wasn't no, it wasn't throw a party. All the brothers come bring y'all wine over here, and everybody gonna come over here, and we gonna party while everybody's getting slaughtered. No, you can imagine what everybody was feeling. It was probably tense, nervous. People were shaking, because you can just imagine when the firstborn is dying. Probably people waking up in the middle of the night screaming, having heart attacks. You can all types of noise, and you can imagine the sounds that was going on. Imagine you just sitting there and you hearing all types of and people crying and screaming and hooting and hollering. You can just imagine. It's serious, man. Nobody was like, yeah, DJ, turn that up. No, man. It was not that time. Right? Now let's jump down. Let's keep reading on that 13. It says, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague should not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. And that's going to happen again now. And we want the Lord to pass over us again. Right? We hoping to be covered when all the plagues, and destruction and pestilence and all that stuff starts to happen in the spiritual Egypt. Right? We hoping that we are passed over. Right? And let's get I'm gonna get a preset real quick. Had to look it up. I don't remember where it is. Bear with me. Come on, man. It's in Psalms. Psalms 91. Okay. Hold that Exodus. Let's get Psalms real quick. We're gonna keep reading on the Exodus. Say 71? No, 91. It's 91 and 7. Right, it's a Psalms 91. I start at 1, right? It says, he that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say, the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my power. In him will I trust. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence, right? It says, he shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His trust shall be thy shield and buckler. It says, thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. It says, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness. It says, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. Right? It says, 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. It says, only with thine eyes shall thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. And there's a lot more on that. But the point that I wanted was that in the 7th verse, right? Because we're going to be a part of that number that see people, falling and dying and all types of things affecting them. But we want to be covered, right? We don't want that to come near us. Let's jump down to 14. It's Exodus 12 and 14. It says, and this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you should keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. You should keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you should put away leaven out of your houses. It says, for whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day unto the 7th day, it said that soul should be cut off. It says from Israel. It says, and in the first day there shall be an holy convocation. convocation. And in the seventh day there should be a holy convocation to you. No matter of work should be done in them, save that which every man must eat. And it says that only may be done of you. Verse 17, it says, and you should observe the feast of unleavened bread, for this is the self same day the self same day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. This is therefore you should observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. Right? And there's more that you can read on that, but that was the point, right? Both times, where you see it mentioned, obviously it's mentioned throughout the scriptures, right? But the Lord's Passover was a serious time, and the Passover when we was in Egypt, right, was a serious time. So you understand the mindset and the emotion and all those things that was going on at the time. Tensions was very high. Right, it even says to eat it with your shoes on, and eat it in haste. Right, you didn't sit there and laugh. 3 hours go by, you took one bite of the lamb, you drunk, you drank too much wine, didn't eat nothing, no, man. Right, and to eat the bitter herbs, the horseradish. Right, it remind you of the bitterness. Right, of our captivity. Right, especially this one, right, and we're waiting and for this to be the last one on this side, and hopefully this is it, right? So now we'll be able to keep Passover in the kingdom, and we'll be able to actually start to live, right, not just exist. So that's it, man. If you're unsure, you just came in, and you probably shouldn't keep it. Unbeliever, obviously, yeah. If you a person that don't eat, what do you call it, vegan, vegetarian, right? You don't eat meat, or you something else. Don't eat meat, right? Or so on and so, or drink. For the Passover, you have to do that. There's no substitution. I believe the apostles have said you can't get lamb, then the next best thing would be some goat. But you should be able to find some type of lamb chopper or something inside some grocery store, man. Right? So you should be able to get access to lamb, bitter herbs. Like I said, if you can't find the roots. It's my first couple years. I didn't have access to the roots. So I would get the minced horseradish sauce and so on and so forth. Right? And the lamb, of course. And if you don't eat meat, hey, this is the day you put that aside. You continue to be vegetarian after. But you have to eat the lamb, you drink the wine, bitter herbs, unleavened bread. That is a part of the Passover. There's no substitution. You're going to be like these damn knucklehead demons. You eat lettuce. You know what I'm talking about. And it doesn't have to be horseradish. There's plenty of bitter herbs that you can get. Plenty of bitter herbs that you can get that's not horseradish, but horseradish root is probably the one that you're going to have access to get to easily. Right? Other ones you might have to go off the way and go to a certain supermarket to get other bitter herbs, but horseradish root, go to the supermarkets, go to the produce section, they should have it. Right? So that's it, man. And typically, too, if you have a hard time finding it, how I found mine, honestly, if you just look up horseradish root on Google, and then you allow them to have your location, what happens is all the stores or the place that you can get it will really just start to pop up. Right? That's what I did. I typed in horseradish root on Google, and then it showed a store that's not too far from me that had it. So I end up, getting a couple more things and then ordered it. Right? So you can also do that too if you can't find a Walmart or whatever to have it. So just look it up on Google, and then any stores that have it, it should pop up. Right? So that's it, man. Just wanted to go do a little quick hit on the Passover, man, and just give a little, insight, right? Like I said, it was one person that I think was on the Elder Apostle Bar comment board today and said they live with their parents. Can you keep the Passover? The answer is yes, right? Obviously, you can't take out, their food and beverages or whatever the case may be that has leavening in it. But like I said, you can do your own quarters, your own living quarters. Your room, if you got snacks in it, keep mini fridge or whatever the case may be. You got all that stuff in your room. Scrutinize your packages in there and then take it out. Right. That's what I did. And I felt like that was the best thing I could have done, since you can't take things out of the house, just to do that. So that's it, man. I'm gonna close out. I'm gonna give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh. Shalom.